everyone, so in this video I wanted to show you a couple different art tips that I've learned that I thought you would find interesting or useful. And the first one that I wanted to show you was actually how you can refill your felt tip pens. Here's my container of pens. I've accumulated a bit over the years, and of course as time goes on some of them dry out or stop. They kind of like run out of ink, so instead of throwing them away you can actually refill them. The only thing to keep in mind is the kind of ink you're putting in them, and usually I just use black India ink because it's waterproof and so are microns. So I just think it's good to have a waterproof ink in your pen so that you can like, they work with watercolor and they won't smear everywhere. I know these are supposed to work with Copics, they're not supposed to smear with alcohol ink or just like the ink that's in Copic markers, but if it's run out then there's nothing I can really use it for, so if I want to keep using the pen then I can put ink in it. There's a difference between like your pen being out of ink or your pen's nib just not working anymore. As you can see, this brush pen doesn't come to a very fine point anymore, but it's still really full of ink, so I don't need to refill it. And probably when the time comes, if this runs out of ink, I'll probably just throw it in the garbage because the brush part of it is just, it's all frayed and it's not really working that well anymore. Some of these in here are colored, but I'm just going to be focusing on the black ones. And something to be careful of is the really thin nibs because they're a little bit more fragile, so you might want to be careful. But if it's out of ink, then you can't really hurt it, I guess. So here's my ink, and I know it comes with an eyedropper, but I'm just going to use a different eyedropper. I'm going to use this one because I can kind of tell like where the end is, and this one's a little bit bigger, and it's kind of hard to tell where the ink's going to go. I used to use an even smaller one, but that one's gone, so if the smallest one you can find, I would recommend. And get some paper towel just in case. And you just need some pliers or something that can take the nib out of the pen. So most pens have this like silver end here, and microns have it, Copics have it, this brand has it, and you can usually pull that out of the pen. So if your pen has one of these, it can probably be refilled. So what I would do is I take the pliers, just be careful you don't crush the end. It's probably better to use thinner pliers, but this is all I have. And you just pull this out gently, and this comes out with it. I'm just going to leave that over there. This might get a little messy because I haven't done this in a while, and my eyedropper is a lot bigger than it was before. There might be some surface tension as you're refilling it, so just tap it a few times. You might want to do this over some kind of surface so you don't get ink on your desk. Oh, I didn't realize how much ink I was putting in there. I think this is really full now. And if it starts leaking, like be careful where you put this now, because if you've overfilled it, it might start to leak. And I fear I might have just overfilled mine. And make sure when you put this back in that the needle part goes back into the ink reservoir. It might take a while for all the ink to spread around, but then your pen is now refilled, and I think you can already kind of see mine getting a bit darker. This will prolong the life of your pen as long as the nib remains intact. And the final thing I like to do is I like to put washi tape on it so I know that it's been refilled before. I think some of my pens have been refilled but the tape fell off, so use something that will stay. So now I know this one has been refilled. Another neat thing I saw recently, an artist that I follow on Instagram, they posted that they drew a tiny little landscape in a little travel watercolor set, and I didn't even really consider to actually put paper in a watercolor palette before. And also a good travel watercolor set can actually be a tin that like candy was in, or mint, or anything like that, and you can put the paint in one side and you can put your paper on the other side, so that wherever you go you can do a tiny little mini landscape. And I thought that was so cool, and I think there's actually an artist that is famous for doing this, but I think just like as a hobby anyone could do this, and it's just it seems so convenient and so cute. So I'm gonna actually put paint in here now just to like test it out, because I've been meaning to put paint in this little tin for a really long time. I want to try putting gouache in it and see how well it stays in the tin, so I'm gonna do that. If you want to know what gouache I use, I'll put it in the description. This tin might be on the small side, but it's okay. I actually have had problems with gouache flaking off of metal before, so this might not actually stay in the tin too well. But I'll find out in the future. This is the primary set. It's cyan, magenta, and yellow, and it works really well for mixing. You could also do watercolor, you could do oils, probably not acrylic because acrylic dries so fast. And then you can have your little piece of paper here, or you can use this side for mixing and have a piece of paper somewhere else, but you could just have your little landscape in here, like a little easel. I just think it's a really cool thing to keep in mind if you're ever going to be traveling. And you can use any tin, like any little mint tin. People use Altoids a lot, just anything you can find. And sorry if you hear lawnmowers outside. Everyone seems to be gardening today. And a way to secure this here, you could use tape, you could use sticky tack. And it's okay if gouache dries because it reactivates with water. So gouache, watercolor, oils, anything that will stay wet or that you can reactivate, this is a really good option. And it's small enough to easily take with you anywhere, to put in purses or bags or like even a pocket. So I hope you enjoyed this video, just me sharing a couple little art tips that I found that I hope you'll give a try for sure because they're really useful. And I am going to be using that palette eventually, and I have refilled my pens before, and it just makes it so that you don't have to buy a bunch of pens, because if you like, buying one bottle of ink can refill a bunch of pens, and it can save you money and time, I guess, if you don't want to go out and buy more pens if you run out of your felt tip pens. Just be careful of them leaking, because mine have been leaking a little bit because I overfilled mine, so don't put too much ink in them. So I really hope you found this video interesting, and I'll see you in my next one.